one of my trips is going to be a long distance trip by myself. I'm not saying anything yet because I still need to put the finances together for it and everything else, but hopefully it will be fine. It's long.
Yes.
And I just hit episode 524 of Waypoint Radio.
Good God.
Which is November 22. So since January, I have listened to 524 episodes of Waypoint Radio.
Holy shit.
Not including the extras and all that other shit and everything else. I've listened to them too. But now I'm literally at the point where I had to flip my rotation from oldest to newest to oldest.
Okay.
Because it's faster to scroll down from newest to oldest to where I'm up to. I'm like, oh no, I don't know if I've got enough Waypoint Radio to get me through that trip. But then I realized I've got 6 audiobooks and that I haven't read yet. So, and I've got music, so stuff like that is absolutely fine. But I was like, I was a little panicked because, like, oh fuck,
am I gonna have to start rationing podcasts?
I'm running low on weight.
But then the problem becomes, it's like you get to the point where you're caught up.
All these blue numbers say I don't have to ration shit.
Oh, there you go. So Moon's scrolling through his podcatcher, and pretty much all of the shows have a double-digit number on them saying unlistened episodes.
Unread.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
But that's usually what happens, where it's like you get caught up or you drop a podcast, you find like 3 or 4 more while trying to find one more to fill that void.
Right.
So what it is with me is, like, I was up to date. Like, as of like December, I was up to date on like 15 to 16 podcasts that I listened to. There was like nothing new, nothing unread in there. And then the panic at Waypoint or Vice started like in January, and they're like, yeah, we don't know when this shit is just gonna vanish from the internet.
Oh, sure.
Like, I'm gonna just listen to them all.
Yeah.
Like, right fucking now, just to, because one of the reasons I like a good podcatcher is because I don't have to sit there and transfer files from my machine to my device. To listen to it. Not to mention most media players on devices are total fucking trash anyway.
Oh my god.
And they don't have a marked as played option.
Right.
Yeah.
So podcatchers are the best solution for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just like fucking scrolling through and like, oh, not too much long to go now. But it's funny because, like, I'm blowing through them even faster now because in my regular job, when 5 o'clock hits, I can listen to podcasts until I finish that job.
Oh, okay.
And now in my second job, I literally just listen to podcasts the entire time. So that's 4 extra hours of podcast listening to every day. So I'm destroying this backlog so quick.
True. Man.
Still a year behind. But then the good news is once I finish with Waypoint, I've got Remap to listen to.
There you go. Brand new episode 1.
Yep.
Oh, man. Okay. Are you guys ready to get started?
Yeah. Speaking of a backlog.
Yes, sir. Tell me about it.
What episode is today? Okay, today's the 30th. I have 0 fucking notes. Not like it matters.
That's okay.
I didn't even make notes for... Of course I didn't. Why would I do such smart things like that?
You mean planning ahead?
Not me.
Yes.
All right. You guys ready?
Yep.
Sure.
All right. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of That Video Game Podcast, aka TVGP. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpier.
Hello.
And the Nimp.
Hello.
Quick plug here, patreon.com/E1M1.
Come on, the numbers.
Remember the $5 a month tier. Fun for a $5, one might say. And that one is the website. You can get that over there. That gets you everything, anything above and beyond that is greatly appreciated. It gets you early access to We Rogue Like It, show where Moon and I are playing an inadvisable amount of roguelikes. Get you early access to Critical Misses. Moon and I are catching up on all the hits we missed. Gets you exclusive access to the Outcast, I have a truly wild list of topics that we bounced on this week. That's the show where we talk about everything going on in our lives that isn't video games. And boy, a lot of really weird stuff happening this week. So
and I didn't even talk about my wife getting in a fight with a tree with her car at the campsite.
That's... Imagine what we did talk about then. So that gets you exclusive access over there, and you also get exclusive access to the Wayward Sons, which is the supernatural TV show watchcast that Moon and the Nymph are going through. You can catch that every other week. That alternates with Critical Misses over there on the website. Anything above and beyond that is also there over there. Go check it out. Patreon.com/E1M1.
Ones are the digits.
Moon, what have you been playing this past week?
Well, apparently I have a stalker on our Discord channel, because no sooner than like 10 minutes after I got the 1000 gamer score on this game, I had a message on Discord saying Moonpear's going to talk about a 1000 game this week. I was like, okay, Pharaoh, calm down. I don't know where that came from, or how you spotted that so easily, but okay. Did X suddenly start reissuing the True Achievements notifications? Doubtful.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it was just glancing at it and saw that I'd stopped playing a certain game. Starfield is the game in question.
Got a gamer score glancer?
Yes. Or maybe, it was the end of the month, so maybe they were checking out the leaderboard.
So that's probably what it was.
There you go.
And figuring out where everybody lies. Don't test me on that, folks. Just don't. Like, I
don't even say anything, and then you just see me up in like the 2-3 spot, and everyone's like, "Where did you come from?" And I'm like, "I've been offline a lot."
That's right. Yeah. My favorite one is always like 3 days before the end. I'll get like a random. I'll get randomly sub-discorded, which is subtweeting for Discord, and it's like, well, Moon's only 15th. I've smashed him this month. It's like, oh really?
You crack your knuckles.
Oh really? Yeah,
Dad's going to work.
Crack the knuckles, break out the library, and oh no, I'm number one among all my friends list.
That's right.
Because that's what I do. I'm number one. Yay. Anytime you at me with regards to gamerscore, you should immediately be picturing Ralph Wiggum sitting on the bus saying, "I'm in danger."
That's exactly.
That should be your instinctual response.
Yep.
Even if I'm working 80, 90-hour weeks like I am right now, I will make the most of that 30-minute window I have. Don't try me.
Human body only needs 2 hours of sleep. Ask me how I know.
That's right. That's right.
Dude, ask me how I know. Anyway, yes, let's talk about Starfield. Beat the game.
Nice.
I got to level 100. I got the 20 skill books. I got the 500 resources that I needed. I landed on 100 planets.
Oh boy.
It sure is a game.
It's a video game.
I know Nymph did this. Boston, did you see the final sequence in the game?
No, I got nowhere close to finishing that game. I got to the point where the game's like, you get the first power, and I was like, and at the time when I was playing it, the people were like, oh man, you just got to keep pushing until you get the powers, and like that first power is so cool, and like it really opens it up.
After 40 hours, I swear.
Exactly, and like I get the first power, and it's the like make people float with sparkles power, and I was like, bros, come on, this is what you're going to bat for, like, man.
But to be fair, it's random which powers you get.
Oh, okay, that makes me feel a
other
little better
people
that
may
I got
have
the
gotten
worst
different cooler powers than you.
Yeah, but like
I did end up with a power that fires like balls of darkness at people and then does damage over time.
All right, so I got the bad one.
You got your Twilight powers over there.
But then the game is like, oh, so that thing you did to get the shard or whatever, you just got to do that like a bunch more times. I was like, no, I'm out, baby.
Yep.
Bye. And I just uninstalled it.
Well, I uninstalled it now. 103.6 gigs back, baby.
There you go.
Bad that that's not that big anymore.
Dude, it's really not. Like, the worst part is I've got like 10 games installed on my external hard drive, which is a platter drive, not a solid state drive.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime I load that up, it's like 190 gig, 90 gig, 80 gig, 50 gig, 76 gig, and they've all got those two arrows symbols on it. So for those of you who don't know the Xbox like lingo for that, it means that it's not on a hard drive that's fast enough to run the game. So I have like Alan Wake, Dying Light 2, all of these games which are huge in sizes on my external drive. So that way, when I'm ready to play them, I can just do the transfer onto my internal and then run them smooth from that point on.
Do the game shuffle.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm probably going to have to do at some point soon because I don't know what I'm going to play next. I just don't. Starfield is fine. It is minor spoilers for the end of Starfield, but minor spoilers, major spoilers for the end of Starfield. Yeah.
Okay. Parenthetically, spoilers.
His name is not Tom. His name is Moon. Unfortunately, it's Major Moon is the person in this specific thing. They do a really. I really wish I could swear on this show sometime because I cannot express how much of a non-job they do on the Bethesda endings.
Oh boy.
Like, the New Vegas endings being the best, where it's like, here is 50 screenshots of all of the people you've had an influence on throughout the course of the game and what your actions had the ramifications of for each of these like 50 disparate like things.
Right. I love you, Obsidian.
There was 5.
You have more than 5 crew members.
And it gets even better because 4 of them are the faction quest lines that you do.
Oh boy. Okay. You know, the ones that already had endings?
Yeah, the UC, the Freestar, the Ryujin Corporation, whatever the other one was. What was the other one?
Blood.
I don't know.
Blood.
Vanguard?
Yeah, the UC Vanguard?
Oh, no, the Crimson Fleet.
Yeah.
And the 5th one was your romanceable option.
Oh, God. That's... Woof.
And the best part of it is, best, open brackets, mockingly, close brackets.
Right.
Is the fact that they literally just sum up what you figured out by completing the quest lines.
So they're not adding more. It's just a rehashing of, hey, in case you forgot,
it's
80
like,
hours ago.
Yeah, Ryujin, you controlled the board and did X, Y, and Z. And it's like, oh.
Ryujin was literally like, hey, because of your actions, they disassembled and hid the manipulation chip thing away. It was never released to public. They were still profitable, but albeit a little quieter around. Right. Crimson Fleet was like, hey, you got rid of the Crimson Fleet and the skies were safer.
Thanks. Couldn't it like put a little poetry on that one? Like
the Vanguard was like, hey, the Ashta solution was great, and although slow going, it increased intermingling between the factions and allowed the factions to get on a little bit better. And then says promoting the UC as the leaders of democracy in this new age.
Right. For managed
and then the
democracy.
Yeah. And then like the Freestar Collective one was like, yo, you dealt with this big bad dude who was nasty and mean, and you proved that the Rangers will do whatever it takes to get the job done, even against corruption and everything else.
Propaganda.
Okay, so I am a space cop, a space cop, a space cop, and a space cop.
Right.
You're the problem.
That's
yeah,
am I the baddie?
I am the problem.
I don't know if they can make those suits any grayer for you right now.
Yeah. And this was all because I was trying to be good/neutral. It's like, come on, guys. Like, give me something. I will say, Nymph, did you romance anybody when you
No.
when you beat the game?
Nope. Because
So
remember,
you only got the
I
4.
got sick and tired of everyone and just stuck with the robot. And if I could have romanced the robot, I would have.
Vasco for life.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Mass
Vasco
Effect would
doesn't
let
judge.
you sleep with ED, probably.
True.
Actually, don't. Probably doesn't, because that's Joker's girl.
That's true.
Thing, person,
robot,
android.
Who even
there was
knows?
a lot of questions at the end of that game.
That's right.
Yes.
Especially on
synthesis,
what
baby.
Cares. Yeah.
Always synthesis. Always. Yep. So you only got the 4. You didn't get the 5th one with the romanceable person.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, I forgot there was 6. There was one about Constellation too. Yo, Constellation spread the word about everything that you did. Good job.
Hooray!
The final one was the romance one, and I romanced Andreja, and I've spoken openly about how Andreja was probably the most interesting part of this game for me throughout everything I've been playing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And with the summation of her storyline when it was wrapping up, it was like, yo, so technically speaking, we're not supposed to be together because of the whole Great Serpent thing. That's just my nickname.
That's right. You old
Title
big
veto,
snake,
like
you know.
Title veto right now.
That's right.
But because of that whole situation, it was like, look, like, because of what happened between you two, suddenly some cosmic after effect was marriages flourished throughout the galaxy, and the clan that she's from suddenly had a lot more people questioning the orthodox nature of the clan because of the success of mine and her relationship.
Oh, interesting.
So it started to open its borders and start interacting more with quote-unquote outsiders.
Okay, that's an interesting ending.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Everything else is trash.
Yeah. Everything else is like, hey, you already did this. It's like, thank you.
Announced DLC supposed to be about not necessarily that group, but that religion, the Great Serpent religion thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have zero interest in it because
yeah,
who cares at this point?
Yeah.
Like, it was fine. I went into the new universe. I went and spoke to Sarah. I explained everything, and I was like, "Cool, now you know exactly who I am. Save, quit, uninstall."
That was my favorite part, was walking into Constellation and just being like, sit down, shut up, I'm going to tell you what's about to happen.
Right.
I was
Let
like,
me drop some truth bombs on you.
Yeah, and then that's when I saved and quit as well after a while.
Man.
Yeah, I don't know. Starfield is a game.
Starfield is done, most importantly.
don't put 106 hours into it like I did. Like, that's just...
Good call.
It is not worth that time investment, especially not when we talked about it last week. If it was one of those games where it's like, yeah, just like do the whole thing, like just keep doing new game pluses, don't focus on everything else. Maybe if you're going to do it that way, give it a shot. I'm not interested in new game pluses because I literally lost my ship, my buildings, my inventory, my weapons, my everything. Like,
right.
I'm good. Like, I don't really need to go and do anything with regards to that.
Good call.
120 hours, I should say.
Oh, jeez.
5 days.
There you go.
Well, I got my achievements, and now I'm done, and I'm good to go on from that. I only play.
It won't let you go.
I only played one of the games this week because I had a smooth, like, 45 minutes where I was like, I don't know what to play now that I have 45 minutes. What should I play? So I played Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde.
There you go.
Because I can't have this one be in the game completely.
Is that me or Nimp?
No, you haven't got 1,000 gamer score on that game. Don't even come at me with that.
No.
I don't even know
this
what
one,
I'm at anymore. I think I'm at 1,200 right now.
Yeah, this one over here, I can't have him making a mockery of We Roguelike It by demolishing that game in a week.
That's
true. It's not a mockery. You guys put out, hey, this is a good game, and if you like Vampire Survivors, and I'm like, well, I like Vampire Survivors.
Vampire Survivors is great, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I loaded that up because it was one of those things where it's like, I literally have 45 minutes. I don't know what I feel like spending time on. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this before. If it's off my, like, dashboard, like my quick start, I forget all about it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking at you, aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Which I still really, really do want to get back to. But if it's off the front, then I forget about it and I don't do it anymore. And then I literally was scrolling through all of my games, all too many of my games. And I was like, oh, I could do Vampire Survivor, not Vampire. I could do Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde. I've got a couple of achievements to go in. I don't have a couple. I got a lot of achievements to go in that one. But I was like, hey, it's 15-minute runs.
Yeah.
Yeah. In and out.
That's it. 15 minutes, in and out, be done with it. So I loaded that up instead and got like 3 achievements in it because I have a problem.
That game's great. If you haven't played Spirit
really
Hunters Infinite Horde, you really should.
You really should. Yep.
It's real good.
My only complaint is the same thing that I have with Vampire Survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Why can the enemies walk through everything and you're stuck on everything?
That's right. It's one of those genre things that just irks you.
Yep. Wait, aren't we about to play another one of these?
Yepers.
Okay, so I'll have 2 for them on the go at the same time then, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde. I'm literally trying to fill out the
web or whatever.
Thing. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then once I've done that, I'll try and get the 100 things in hardcore mode, which, of course, sure, why not, I guess. But yeah, that's all I've been playing. Nimp, take it away.
I will tell you, the only thing that sucks about hardcore mode is that first start, the initial start.
Yeah.
Because I think I had to restart it one time because I wasn't paying attention because I was so used to just blowing through everything that I got cocky and forgot, oh no, this is fresh. I don't have anything. Okay, this week I played a little bit more of 100 Hero Eiyuden Chronicles. You don't need to pull up a video because this is going to be quick. I finally got through the mine and fought the boss there. The area that you go through, I think there's like 4 or 5 different levels, and they're kind of long only because of the random fights, the random battles that you have. They're not bad or anything because you're constantly getting items and stuff, and that's kind of the one of 2 complaints that I'm about to bring up. You in your bag can only hold 30 item slots.
Okay.
Now each item can hold, like if you do like medicinal herbs, I think those can hold up to 6. So if you get 1, you can hold 6 of them in that one slot, and then it'll roll over to another slot, and you hold 6 more of those in a slot.
So it's not 30 items; it's 30 items times whatever.
And each item has like revive drops. I think you can only hold 2 before it needs to take up another slot.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So I was getting to a point where as I was getting further along in the dungeon, my bag was full, and so I couldn't open chests. Obviously, because I don't have rooms. Like, okay, fine. So then I have to walk all the way back through the map, which luckily you do start to unlock shortcuts, but it is still a long walk through the mines, back to the closest town, sell and drop stuff off, and then walk back. So I had to do that a couple of times, and this is when I found out, I think it was the level 3 of the mine. There were 2 chests that it wouldn't let me open because my bag was full. When I went back to open those, there was just money in them.
Oh,
something that doesn't go in your bag.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, why couldn't I have opened these? I should have been able to open it because it was just money.
Right. Weird.
So that's my one complaint. My second complaint is they really should allow you to teleport between save points in a dungeon.
Yeah.
You do have an item that can quick warp you to the start of a dungeon, but nothing to allow you further back into a dungeon unless that opens a waypoint or something that, like a one-time use waypoint. I didn't use the item because I'm like, well, I got to grind for levels anyway and for money. So for me, it worked out because it's like I might as well just hit all the random encounters going back. I'm not going to waste this one item.
Sure.
But outside of that, though, this has been a great just shut my brain off and just scour the map for stuff and then just put it in auto battle. There was like an achievement that I unlocked for doing auto battle like 100 times.
Oh, okay, nice.
Cool. Whatever.
I did it.
Once you get to a certain level in an area, it's like, all right, I can just auto battle and it doesn't matter if you guys get hit because you're only taking like 1 or 2 points of damage and you're taking everything out in one shot. So it's like, whatever, just go. And then when I get to the boss, then it's like, okay, now I have to pay attention because there's a gimmick tied to it and all of this other fun crap. So still a fun game. I am up to a point where a village has been caught on fire. There are political conspiracies afoot.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure people are going to start dying here in a little bit.
Yeah,
I think we're going full tactics with this.
Yeah, man.
So, it's been interesting. Next game that I played, and this is pretty much all I've really been playing this week, is Spider-Man 2. I am at
Marvel's
50...
Spider-Man 2. Thank you very much.
Yeah, 2022
Please give him
Marvel's.
his birth name.
Yeah, whatever. I am 59% game completion, not story completion, game completion. Because everything except for the Mysterios, Curios stuff, I have pretty much done already.
Yeah.
As soon as it pops up on the map. I am collecting the weird little spider robots that randomly show up.
I had a lot of fun collecting those because some of them were in pretty weird spots.
Yeah, and every once in a while, because when you click R3 and you kind of do like this spider sense burst thing that lets you know if there's activity going around, and those spider robots will pulse like this weird orb, like this giant orb that you can see. And I've had that kind of glitch out on me a couple of times where it'll look like it's on one building, so I'll swing there and there's nothing, and I'll do the sense again, and then I don't see the bubble anywhere.
Oh, weird.
So then I have to like web away like a couple buildings.
I'll be right back.
And and then pulse and try to see, and then oh no, it was at that building. Or I have had a couple of things like up and disappear randomly. Like there was a tech crate that was on a building that I had seen as I was swinging past it. So I swung back, got to it, went to grab it, and the crate just disappeared.
Oh, weird.
I was like, okay, and I think what the issue was that the game was starting to set me up for a story-related thing in that area. So it was pulling all of that stuff out of there because it was a story area and not like a normal, I guess the normal view of the city or whatever. So that's been weird. The controls are fine, but there's like jank every once in a while, especially when you're doing the web what do they call it? The web gliding.
You're every like wing thing?
Yeah, the wingsuit thing. Where you try to go like it's usually small areas. Yeah. Where it's like you're trying to make like tight turns, and then all of a sudden you bump a building because you got too close, and then because you bumped it, he's trying to grab it, and it's like, no, don't do that. And then you're web slinging, and then you're trying to fly again, which then you run into something else because you were starting to get attracted to one thing because you were just floating in the air. It gets weird. This game doesn't do well in tight spaces.
Right.
Which it's even more noticeable when you're doing story missions and they put you inside of buildings. And it's like, okay, I need to get up to this vent. Why am I crawling on this computer? Get off the nope, now I just web slung across the room. Nope, I am now on the other room. Yeah. And it's like, all right, just stop moving, okay?
Just shut up. Take a breath.
Yeah. But outside of that, though, when you're just in the big open area, it handles fine. It's just tight spaces are not great for this game.
Yeah.
Combat's still kind of weird too when they start throwing. I'm at the point now where we're starting to realize that the symbiote on Peter might be a problem.
Maybe it's not a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point in the game, there's a lot of variety of enemies where you got people trying to fight you with fists, weapons, and ranged weapons, and shields. There's also a bunch of like animal mechanical things flying around or running around that do a bunch of weird things. So there's a lot of things happening at once, and they all gang up on you at once.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to counteract things when everything is going off at once, because normally like the combat is kind of more set to, hey, with these mechanical things you want to do like the combo against them to help knock them down faster. But because there's so many things around you, you go to combo the mechanical animal, and instead you're hitting a dude with a shield.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to, you know, pull the shield from him later, kind of thing. So it gets messy.
Yeah.
But it's still a lot of fun, especially since they have, when at this point you get like this area of effect ability with both characters, which can help knock everybody away from you, and that kind of opens and frees up space. So there are ways in game to kind of get around it being messy like that, but every once in a while it is real easy to get put in a corner, and it's like, just get out of the corner, get out of the corner, come on.
Yeah, there were fights where I would just have to like web swing up to the ceiling just to be like, all right, I gotta reset, I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna crawl to the other side of the room, I'm just gonna start fighting from over there. Like, I just need a minute to get the hell out of here.
Yeah. And I am finding too now that I find it a lot more enjoyable to do like the stealth takedowns, especially now that I have the web line that you can shoot point to point and make like a crosswalk. Every ability that you use at that point is a one-hit kill or a one-hit takedown.
Yep.
So you're doing the whole Batman thing of, hey, I'm doing the tightrope walk, and oh, there's two guys below me, and I yank them both up because no one else sees that they're there, and I put them out. It's like, cool, that just frees up and you just keep moseying around until you knock out everybody.
Yeah.
And it's so much faster than trying to fight everything, because you get usually to a point where all of a sudden they call in reinforcements, and it's like, great, now I have more of these things to fight.
That's the one system that I really felt frustrated by in this game pretty often, is like, all right, cool, I finally have this room all completed, and then all of a sudden, because I had like forgotten that somebody called in before I webbed them up, or there's one dude all the way across the map that's like, oh, there's Spider-Man over there, and then a whole other wave of enemies come in. I was like, bro, just come on, man. Like, I just cleared this whole room twice. Like, give me a break here.
Yeah, I find it's a lot less likely to happen if you try to stick with stealth.
Yep.
The other problem with stealth, bringing it back to controls, is every once in a while it's like you're trying to get away, you're trying to get it back up into like the rafters, but all of a sudden, like, he can't web to anything.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone all of a sudden slowly starts to see you, and you're like, come on, let's go, get on a wall or something.
You're frozen
like,
in the middle of the room, like, nobody, don't look at me.
Yeah. It's like, which, if you're playing as Miles, hey, he just proc his camouflage, and you're fine. Yeah. But when you're playing as Peter, you're like, well, great, this just got to be 10 minutes longer.
Hi, it's me, Spider-Man.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm still having a ton of fun with it. And it's just like the first one, where it's like, oh, hey, new icon, let's go see what that does. And I'm like, okay, there's 15 more that popped up. Well, I guess I'm doing these for the next 20 minutes.
These are all fun.
Now.
Let's knock them out.
Yeah. And there's still tons of new suits to get. And there's usually, unless it's comic specific, there's usually like variant colors, like 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the main one that you unlock, and there's like 3 more colors for each suit that you can unlock. So those are cool to mess with. They brought back a lot of the like the comic book Spider-Man for the first one, where it was visually different, where it looked and reacted like the comic book frame. That's back, and that looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done that. Like Miles has 1 or 2 costumes that are like that. They added Spider Noir for Peter,
right?
Which I did try that, and that does look really cool. And I enjoy how at night there is always a light shining up on Spider-Man Noir, whether there's a light there or not.
Yep.
But it really screws with my eyes when you start to web sling, because I think those are set at a lower frame rate than the 60 because of the style.
Yeah.
It's not because of like graphical issues, but like just to maintain the look of that style, they put it at a lower frame rate. And that screws with my eyes really bad, so I had to switch them out of that costume.
Yeah, because they even made a change in this one. Like in the previous game, like Spider-Verse costume would run at the 24 frames. And it was only in that costume, but they added an option in this one that you could turn on that 24 frames option for any suit. And I tried that too, and I was like, nope, my eyes don't like. This is a cool option. I appreciate you put that in there. I'm turning that off. Wolf.
It's a really cool visual effect, and I'm glad that they were able to put it in there. But yeah, I can't stare at that for too long. Yeah. Especially when you put it up against how the rest of the game looks. Like it's so noticeable that it's distracting.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, gonna keep playing Spider-Man. I checked, and I think I'm 11-ish main missions away from beating the game.
Okay, that's not bad.
But that's just the main missions. That's not including all the other fun whatever unlockables I'm gonna have to search for once I get to that point. So I'm just looking to just keep cruising with it. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah.
My last game, and this is gonna be super short for me because I don't know. I didn't really do a whole lot with it. Is my son and I played a little bit more Destiny 2.
Okay.
We just did. We did 3 or 4 Vanguard missions, just to try to get more items and stuff like that to increase our light level. I only got like 2 items that kind of were higher than what I was at, and everything else was like super low.
Yeah.
But that was all we had time to do, so we just kind of screwed around with that. It's still a lot of. I can tell I'm the only one between my son and whatever rando we get. I was like, oh, hey, this is a cool new area, and I'm sitting here looking at statues and stuff like that, and then I get the little counter saying, hey, you're too far away from everybody.
That's right. Yep. We're about to teleport you.
That's right.
Exactly.
Keep up, old man.
There was a point we were doing. We shifted. What was it? We shifted into like a dark realm, so we had to like jump onto like different random things in the world.
Yeah.
And one of them was the silo canister looking thing that we had to jump onto to continue on. And no matter what I did, I could not make the jump. Like it was just too far. And the platform that I was on, it was like a floating rock. So it wasn't that big to begin with. I didn't have anywhere else that I could get to. And so I was asking my son, I'm like, what am I missing? How did you guys make the jump? And I'm like, just making it far enough that I can bump off the side of it and fall into forever, you know?
Right.
And eventually it just got to a point where they were sitting there looking at me like, just go.
Just
like,
pull,
just
just
make
pull
the
me,
game
man.
drag me.
Yeah, like,
I am not going to get this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it for us.
Destiny 2 is my first game here on my list. To recap, because this is important, Destiny's moving from seasons to episodes. So it was 4 seasons a year. Now it's 3 episodes a year. And each episode has 3 acts in it. This week was the end of episode 1, act 1. So it's basically 3 weeks of content, 3 weeks off. And then it'll be, assumingly, they'll kind of repeat that process for act 2 of 3 weeks of content and then 3 weeks off. Which I actually don't mind, because I like being able to break up the amount of Destiny into kind of smaller chunks, because before it was a lot of like, you're going to be playing kind of the new weekly stuff for 7, 8, 10 weeks, something like that, and then you'll have a little bit of time off between seasons, and then you kind of rinse and repeat. So I like the idea of having kind of, you're invested in the game for a little bit of a smaller time, but then you have a smaller time off and then rinsing, repeating. We'll see how I feel for the next 2 acts. I was a little bit disappointed at the ending of episode 1, act 1, though. I'm not going to talk about, there's a bunch of story stuff that happened between Osiris and Saint 14 that I'm not going to get into, because that stuff is a spoiler. But minor spoiler, we basically found out who the villain is this season. It's called the Conductor. It's really somebody who's controlling the Vex. Those are the robot enemies. And like teaching them new things, trying to change their programming to be something a little bit more useful for whatever they're trying to do. the kind of big bummer to me, though, is you go through the stuff, you find out who the villain is, and then you get back to the seasonal vendor who's failsafe, and then the quest updates and says, all right, Act 1 is over. We'll get, Ikora will get in touch with you when Act 2 is ready to start. It's like, well, there wasn't anything. I'm going to be playing it because I play Destiny every week. But, like, if I was a more casual player or someone who's playing this because you get it with the final shape, there's nothing kind of leading me to Act 2 of, like, oh, man, you had this, like, to be continued moment, or you didn't have anything like that that's saying, like, all right, only 3 weeks until Act 2 until I find out X, Y, and Z. So I think that's kind of a bummer. I'm not sure if it's like that because that's the intention, or if it's because, the main development focus was going towards final shape. I'm not sure, but I think the storyline so far is really cool. The activity area they had, where if you have seen Nessus before, it has that white fluid kind of covering the entire planet. Mm-hmm. The mission took place on an area where all of that stuff had been drained, so you kind of get a whole new look at Nessus overall. So that was pretty cool. But I'm hoping that as the acts go on and as the episodes go on, that they kind of figure out how to pull people kind of from one act to another. But so far so good, and I'm excited to see where the episode goes from here. So next game I have here, Final Fantasy V Forge Out Fiesta. Run 1 complete. All done. That was about as easy as expected. Run 2 has started here. I did a meteor run, which is essentially every time it gives you a job, it could be any of the jobs from any of the crystals, or I think it's freelancer or mime. So like 2 of the kind of not jobs. And that's typically the one I play because it gives you the weirdest runs while you're getting to the Earth Crystal. So the combination of things you need to do, or the restrictions you have on your party, are usually kind of the hardest at the beginning of the run. So I got Berserker, which is fine, Summoner, Black Mage, and Freelancer. So this is the first time I've had Freelancer. I think this is the first time I've had Freelancer as an actual job. And Freelancer is really, they can kind of equip anything, but they have no innate job skills. So they can use a bunch of equipment like weapons and armor, but you have to equip jobs that they have learned by job switching. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I got pretty lucky that I got Berserker as my first job along with Summoner, because that means I unlocked both of those at the same time. So I didn't have to have 4 Berserkers rocking around at any point, which was really great, because then I could have 3 Summoners and 1 Berserker, which makes the game infinitely easier. I've done 4 Berserker runs for portions of the game before, and it's brutally hard. So I just finished, I'm in World 2, I just finished farming for reflect rings in the barrier tower, which means I'm largely done with World 2 at this point. And so far it's been pretty easy. It's been similar to last run, where I have a Summoner and I have a Black Mage, so I just kind of burn everything down as I'm going, and I have no healing, and I'm just kind of clipping right through the game. So
do you have a target for how many runs you're going to be doing this year?
Not sure yet. I'm kind of feeling the burnout with, I was going to say games, pretty much everything right now. So I'm like, I don't want to watch. Yeah, like I don't want to watch anything. I don't want to read anything. I'm like don't want to listen to anything. I don't want to play any games at all, which is why we'll be talking about my final game here on the list in a minute. Um, so like I love Final Fantasy V, and I look forward to this thing every year. Um, and if I complete 2 runs, I'll be happy. I kind of want. I after I complete this run, I'm probably gonna look at the run types to see if there's any types of runs I haven't done before, and maybe do one of those. There's a run type that I never do because I think it sounds really annoying. It's called Fifth Job. As a story beat in the second world, you lose a party member and they're replaced with another person. And if you do Fifth Job, the game re-rolls one of your jobs into a new one at that point. Which is fine, but I don't... To me, that sounds more frustrating than anything else. So I haven't done that before, so maybe I'll do that. I don't know. But I have a feeling that I might finish this job and then... or this run, and then maybe kind of be done for the year, and unless I can think of anything else fun to do. So
you could always get an emulation of the game to do the item randomizer.
I have thought about that because I think that sounds pretty neat. Like I feel like I don't know any games, maybe Chrono Trigger, but like I don't know as many games other than this and Symphony of the Night well enough to kind of break them apart for a randomizer like that. I've been thinking about playing with the Final Fantasy V randomizer because it does have a lot of options, like the Symphony of the Night one does, where it's like, all right, how hard do you want to make it? How much do you need to sequence break? How much do you need to kind of know the game in and out to really break it open? And this one seems like you can set some stuff to be pretty fair, I think, so you don't have to like be a speed runner and know 100% of it inside and out. So I kind of like the idea of playing this and having random weapons and spells in the shop, because I think that sounds fun, of just like, oh, I ran into the shop and here's like flare from the end of the game, and here's the second shop, like that sounds kind of fun. So I might do that, but we'll see. I'll have to see if that applies to the Game Boy Advance version or just the Super NES one. I don't remember. But yeah, Forge Out Fiesta is still going on. I think it goes on until the end of August. So if you wanted to join in, you still have plenty of time. Again, if you've never played Final Fantasy V and the job system seems a little bit intimidating for you, the Fiesta is a really great opportunity to kind of focus the jobs that are available. And if you just do a regular run, you get 1 job from each crystal, and usually that's a fairly straightforward enough run that you don't like need to hit the wiki, or don't read the Final Fantasy wiki. It's really bad. But when you hit like Caves of Narshi, which has a really great Final Fantasy V walkthrough or anything like that, you can usually kind of figure it out for yourself. But still moving along happily here. Speaking of JRPGs, I started Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance.
That does not look like Final Fantasy.
Nope.
And then I saw Atlas, and I'm like,
I wish.
Okay.
Yeah, SMT5 Vengeance. This is the kind of, I was gonna say redone, added on, revamped, remixed SMT5, I guess.
The proper version that should have been released.
Yeah, the true final form of the boss fight. I'm playing this on PS5. It looks so good and runs so well. God, it's so nice. So I've played maybe an hour of this. I've gone through the beginning of the game where you're at school and everybody's like, don't walk home by yourself because there's a ghost slasher around. I was like, oh God, that's right. Yeah. The beginning of this game is
Japan
weird.
has an obsession with, hey, don't stay out too late. someone's gonna kill you.
That's right. The ghosts will get you. It's like, oh, okay. So you like meet all your classmates and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember all of this that either doesn't matter later or I didn't get far enough into the game for it to matter again. I made a joke originally when this game was coming out of like, boy, I hope that this game doesn't... So one of the big things about the game is they have the original path through the game, which they call something of creation. And then they have the brand new path, which is kind of like a final version of the story they were trying to tell originally. And that's the vengeance path. I said, boy, I really hope there isn't some like random like talk to this person or don't talk to this person that dictates what path you get. Guess what happens?
Yeah.
You start the game, and within like maybe 15 minutes, the game's like, all right, here's this cursed person in this nether realm. Are you going to take her hand or not? And I was like, huh? What do you... yeah, no, yes, no? So I looked it up. Take her hand, you do the vengeance thing. Don't take her hand, you do the creation path, which is essentially just the original game's path. I did look, without spoiling it, I did look and people were like, okay, if you want to get like the platinum, you want to see all of the endings because there's a bunch of new endings, you basically have to play through the game a whole bunch of times, and you're going to have to do both paths at least once, so it kind of doesn't matter. So I picked the creation path, which is the original version of the game, because I thought I at least want to see if the new path is going to be the like the proper quote-unquote finished real version of this game. I sort of want to see the original first and then get the finished version second.
From what I was hearing, you can new game into either one.
That's my understanding too.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I was kind of impressed because when you make that choice, there's a little bit of like voiced over text, and then the game is essentially like, okay, you made this choice. This goes down this path. You're playing Vengeance, that's the new path, etc. You're playing Creation, that's the old path, etc. Do you want to make this choice, or do you want to make a different choice? So, thankfully, you're not really locked into it, and thankfully the game very directly tells you, this is the path you've chosen, this is the path you've chosen, is that the one you want to go down? So, I really appreciate that, because I feel like having grown up with so many JRPGs, and like LucasArts adventure games, you make that like one choice where you're like, oh, you went left first instead of right first? Well, you got to start the game back over because you made a dumb, innocuous choice that really mattered. So I really appreciate that. They made it very clear, and they gave you the opportunity to make the choice again if that's not what you wanted to do. So I've gotten through the tutorial stuff. They've taught you the press turn system all over again. They're teaching you, hey man, don't forget demons have weaknesses and all that stuff. So I've gotten into that kind of desert area at the beginning and saved my game there because your character, whoever that guy is that merges with your character at the beginning to turn you into the Nahobino or whatever it is, he's like, I need you to walk across this desert over to that area, and I was like, okay, I gotta take a pause here, and we'll pick this up later. So, I'm excited to continue playing this because I liked this, as we've talked about many times before. I liked this a whole lot when I played it before, but God, the performance on Switch was just really bad.
It wasn't great. Yeah.
So being able to play it in 60 frames with it looking this good is really, really great. So I'm looking forward to diving into it. And my last game and my last JRPG for this week, Dragon Quest 1. So we've been talking about Dragon Quest 3 a little bit here recently with the H2D, HD, HD2D. I should probably remember that at some point since Square Enix is just gonna do that with every old game
they just
here?
call it HD 2D.
Okay.
Which
so,
I don't know what happened to 2.5D,
I
which was
know.
what everyone was calling it.
Yeah. Um, we've been talking about that a little bit, and I had said, like, boy, I've played Dragon Quest 8. I think it was like 5, 8, and 11, and I've liked all of them a lot. I should at some point start at the beginning, because I grew up with Final Fantasy. It's not that there was necessarily like a dividing line between the two, but JRPGs back then were ridiculously expensive. My parents were not going to buy me another $80 or $90 NES cartridge.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. They're going to
And
say,
usually back then too, if you bought one, you just never saw the other one because everyone only had like 3 copies, and that was
yeah, exactly. So like I never really played these games. The first one I played was 8 on the PS2, and I loved it. I was like, oh dang. Do you all know Dragon Quest is good?
Yeah.
So with 3 being announced, and then immediately there's some late game story stuff about 3 that everybody's like, oh yeah, and here's this thing. And I was like, dang, all right. Like, I'm not upset, because this game is, what, 35, 40 years old at this point? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not upset about a spoiler from Dragon Quest 3. I'm a little bit bummed that everybody's like, hey, if you care about the very thin story of the first couple of games of these, maybe you should play 1 and 2 before you play 3. And I know if you play them out of order, it doesn't really matter. But I figured, hey, if I'm going to start these, might as well just start at the first one. It's supposed to only be a handful of hours anyway, so why not just kind of knock it out? Then the question was, where are you going to play it? So
Yeah.
I own this game on Switch. I despise is like too gentle of a word how that game looks, and I can't do it. I tried it again, and I just cannot do it. The battle stuff I think looks really good. I like how they've kind of modernized the Toriyama monster designs. I think that stuff looks good. The rest of it, I think, just looks atrocious. I really hate how it looks. Although, like, your character's too big for the tiles you're on. Your character looks like they came out of RPG Maker. Like, it's all just really wrong. So I said, all right, mobile and Switch, I think those versions are out. For me, that I'm not going to be able to get over sort of how those look. I don't think I want to play the NES version, because it doesn't have the translation, which I think the translations are fun for these. The kind of like very British leaning accents and everything in these games I think are really great. So the NES one is out because that has some like non-quality of life things. There's the Game Boy Color one. I didn't really want to play because I didn't like how zoomed in that is if you're playing on an emulator. So I decided to play the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 double pack for the Super Famicom. There's an okay translation out there on the internet that translates both of them at the same time. I kind of wish it had that that kind of British flavor to them of the official translations. It doesn't, which makes the games kind of, they're not bad or boring, but they're kind of a little dry, I think is probably the way of saying it. Of like, the princess got kidnapped. Will you help us save the princess? Yes, thank you. Enjoy your adventure. And it's sort of like, okay, sure. But I am a little way, probably maybe like an hour or two through this game. So far, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It is incredibly basic. I didn't realize that you only have just the hero as your only party member. So that makes battles largely just a one-on-one affair, which is kind of neat. And the everything costs a little bit more than I was expecting it to, which so far has been pretty interesting. And I think the only thing that's kind of frustrating at the moment, to me, I think the Dragon Quest games clicked for me when somebody described them as the game you play for half an hour before you go to bed. So like when we're talking about like 5 and later, let's save 7. That's like a whole separate topic. That you can really kind of save anywhere on the world map. Dungeons aren't super long. Story beats aren't super long. Towns are pretty reasonably sized. Like, it feels like a game where you can kind of get in for half an hour, 45 minutes. You can play a bunch of stuff. You can do something, or maybe at least level up a little bit, and then kind of be done for the day. That's not really the case here for this game, because when you want to go save the game, you have to return back to the king in the kingdom you started the game in, talk to him, and then that's where you save your game. Which, of course it is, because it was an NES game.
You have to report.
Yeah, so like, he's like writing it to the Scrolls of Adventure or whatever. Like, it has a name, so they kind of sell it in the world. But I'm playing this on my Steam Link through RetroArch, which I'm trying RetroArch for the first time, which I'm like not really crazy about, but that's a whole separate topic. So like, I'm sure I could do a save state if I really needed to, but in 2024, it's kind of a funny experience of being like, all right, I kind of finished a dungeon, or I leveled up again, because I'm kind of taking the game pretty slowly. Now I'm ready to save. Oh, right. I can't save anywhere in this game. I've got to hoof it back to the castle to do the thing. And since this is a really old Dragon Quest game, like, to talk to people, you have to open your menu when you're standing in front of them, and then pick the talk option,
Select
or
it,
pick
yeah.
door, or pick... Thankfully, you don't have to pick stairs anymore. You can just walk onto the stairs tile. And thankfully, on this version, I think it's the X button. You hit that, and it does like a contextual option. So, like, if you're standing in front of somebody and hit X, you talk to them. If you're standing in front of a chest and you hit the same button, it opens the chest. So that's a little bit like a nice kind of quality of life improvement there. But I am really tickled when you save the game. The king asks you, like, hey, man, do you want to continue adventuring? If you say yes, and he's like, all right, back to the field with you. And if you say no, he's basically like, even soldiers need a rest. And then, like, the screen goes black and basically says, I await your return for another adventure. And it just stays there. And I'm like, oh, right, this is where I would turn the Super NES off. Right. It's not like...
Yeah, there's not a home menu
Yeah,
to go
there's
to,
not like a
yeah.
menu or anything. I had this moment of like, yeah, right, that's right. You just flip the purple button on the top of this thing. Okay, yeah, that's pretty wild. So it's been kind of fun to go through and see a JRPG that I haven't played before that is so foundational in a way that you look at Final Fantasy 1, that's a D&D game. Like, your spells have charges. Like, that's very much the approach they were taking. It's really interesting to see Dragon Quest 1, where this is kind of a classic different approach on D&D, because, like, the dungeons are dark until you light a torch, and you better bring one with you, otherwise you can't see the map. Like, you can't see your character when you're fighting in battles. It's almost like wizardry, where you're kind of doing like a first-person battle. So it's really interesting to see where this is going. I am following a walkthrough with these, because I do want to just... Saying I want to get through it is kind of maybe like meaner than what I really intend, but I don't want to spend 20 hours wandering around trying to find what villager I didn't talk to tell me which town to go to.
Yeah, you could get lost, like
Yeah.
legitimately lost, and not know where you screwed up.
Right, and like, I'd rather use a walkthrough to say, all right, go to this town in the northeast. You need to be level 8 to deal with these enemies that are in this dungeon. Perfect. I will grind all day long, Drakis and stuff out in the world, but being able to have that knowledge that, if I was playing this as a kid, I'd have the Nintendo Power with the guide in it, or I'd have that like Nintendo Power guide that they would sell for these games, which I did find out on the internet, and it's so great reading guides from that time, because it's like, okay, here's what a menu is, and here's how to equip items, and here's how to talk to villagers, and you use stairs to go from one floor to another. And I was like, man, like how far we've come of just like, these are all things you just know, but these were guaranteed to be the first RPG you were playing at the time. So it's like, here's what a dungeon is. Here's what armor is. And it's like, that's...
And now we're at a point now where it's like, if you have to hit X to use the stairs, people are like, what is this game? Right. What are we doing here?
Right. What is this garbage indie game that I have to select a menu? You dare. So it's been really fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad I'm playing the Super Famicom version, because I think for me that's kind of the best middle ground between getting enough quality of life stuff, but still kind of keeping some interesting kind of pixel art nature here of the game. Thankfully, the deeper you get into the game, into the series, for me, it becomes a lot more obvious which version you would play. I know there's always like the great nerd arguments online about like, no, the Game Boy Advance one is better than the DS one. It's better than the PS2. I don't really care so much about a lot of those. So
I was actually going to ask, how's the encounter rate on that version?
It's not bad. I was expecting... It's actually maybe even on the overworld in the beginning area. I think because this is going to be so many people's first JRPG, it's a little bit... Encounters are a little bit rarer than I would expect. So there's times where I'm like kind of pathing back and forth for a while before I run into like a red slime, and I'm like, okay, encounter rate here is pretty low. I usually expect in older JRPGs to be like, all right, you took 3 steps, you're fighting another giant. Took 3 more steps, you're fighting 3 hydras. It's like, Jesus Christ. This is the first dungeon the first dungeon in this game doesn't have enemies in it. Like it's such a wild differentiation, even from Final Fantasy 1, where you cross the bridge and you get to the first dungeon there, and like that's a pretty for real dungeon at the beginning of Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, I was say between 1 and Legends, all 3 of those, when I played those as a kid, like those, that was like Dark Souls at the time, where they were just kicking you in the teeth every
Legends
time
1
you
especially is just like, when I like got the internet eventually, and people were like, oh, these aren't actually Final Fantasy games, they're Saga games, and I was like, oh, it's all coming together now. Yeah, that's why they're brutally difficult. Okay.
Yeah, and so when I was playing these, it's like I remember the encounters not being horrific, but I also didn't remember there being like 5 or 6 different versions worldwide of the same game. So
yeah, and a lot of them just didn't come out over here. Like we got the NES one, and then we got the Switch and mobile
that one too.
Yeah, so like
because I had to borrow that from a friend. Because I got Final Fantasy and he got Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior.
Yeah, that's right, Dragon Warrior back then. Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. I'm with 3, the HD 2D version of 3 coming out. I think it's in November of this year. I thought, all right, this is a good time for me to kind of like take my time to go through the first 2. I'm fairly sure I won't be revisiting the ones I've played before, because I played, I think 5 is Hand of the Heavenly Bride, if not 6.
It's been a while.
Yeah, like I don't. It's either 4, 5, or 6. I don't remember. I really loved that game. I really loved 5, and I really loved 8, and I didn't finish 11. 11 is really long. Like I got to the point where I got through the second ending, and I was like, bro, there's a lot of game here, man. I don't, so I might revisit that again. I don't know, but
yeah,
11
did the twist better than Starfield. Just
yeah,
saying.
I mean, 11 did do a lot of stuff pretty well, so I wouldn't be opposed to playing through that game, even if there's like an easier difficulty or whatever. But the one I am worried / excited about is 7. I know I will like the intro of 7 for the exact reasons that people hate it, which is like I have to play how many hours with no enemy encounters? Like what are you even talking about? But I know that I will like that from like a storytelling perspective. But yeah, 1 so far is really great, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I think this game's super cool, so I'm hoping to slowly chip away at this over the next couple of weeks and keep diving into it. But that's all of the games I've been playing this week. Let's take a break.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Bathroom break real quick.
Okay.
I have to move Louise, who just got comfortable.
Okay. I'm gonna check. Squeak.
All right, old man.
It's just my knees.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to get... It sucks that they're doing 3 first, and then they're going to release 1 and 2 at some point in the future, because I do want to replay those, just because, like you were saying, they are shorter.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you went through a lot to just try to replay the first game.
Yeah, and most of my time was spent being like, okay, it's like when you talk about something like Final Fantasy V, where it's like, all right, what's the best version? It's like, well, it's like, okay,
yeah.
let me grab a snack and let's figure this out. So someone on Resetera, I remember this from a couple years ago, kind of did a huge write-up of like, here's the best ways to play all of the games, and I think it was up to 11 at the point, because I think 11 had come out, but 11S hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
And they were pretty honest about 1, 2, and 3, which I really appreciated. Of like, they were basically like, if you like how the mobile and Switch versions look, you should play that. They have the best quality of life. They have the translation that you're used to. But like, if you don't like those versions, the Super Famicom and the Game Boy Color ones are really good. If you want to go all the way back and play the original ones, the NES one is really good too. But like, the further back you go, you need to realize there's less quality of life stuff. And these were really early JRPGs.
They're harder to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Sometimes too. Because I know, several years ago, like I think it's probably been like 15 years at this point. Mm-hmm. Like, there wasn't a good legal way for you to play anything before 5, I think 4 or 5.
Yeah.
In the States.
Right.
So it was always that kind of thing. It's like, well, I really want to play these again, but now I have to. I was like, okay, now I have to get the Japanese version. Now I have to find someone who's translated it. Like all the crap that you were just saying, where it's like, okay,
and thankfully nowadays we have like, you can do RetroArch, which I've never really used before, and I like kind of not crazy about it. Like, it makes controller support a lot easier, because it's just like, oh yeah, you have a PS4 controller, or you have an Xbox controller plugged in. We've just mapped it all for you already. Yep. I kind of miss pulling up like Nesticle or SNES 9X or Z-SNES or something and like playing the stuff through there. But it does make it a lot easier to do that stuff. And thankfully, like, romhacking.net is great, because you can just like, oh, okay, I want a translation for Dragon Quest 1 and 2. You search for that, you pull it up, and you just look at the entire list, and it's just like, all right, here are the highest rated ones. Everyone loves this one. I'm going to take this, pop it in my IPS patcher, and we're off to the races. Yeah. So thankfully, it's a lot easier to do nowadays.
Well, I'll say the last game I had to do that with was the Crossbell games. And I had just did all that with Geofront. Mm-hmm. And right around the time I started playing them on my computer, once I got the translation patch installed, was when they announced, oh, hey, after like 20 years, we're finally going to bring Crossbell over. I'm like, now I might as well just wait.
Yeah, exactly. And like if they were coming out with 1 and 2 before 3, or if it was coming out like at the same time, I would probably just wait and say like, all right, I'll pick them all up for the PS5. I'll just go through and play them. But you know, with 3 coming out in November or whatever it is, and then 1 and 2, that dual pack, they're like, yep, coming out in 2025, and I was like,
sometime,
all right, so that's probably like the second half of the year, because they're not gonna put them out kind of back to back. I was like, I'll just bite the bullet. Everybody says, and even like how long to play is just like Dragon Quest 1, that's 8 to 10 hours. I was like, perfect. I can play a couple of hours every week, slowly move through it, kind of chip through it at my own pace. And so far it's been good. I like it.
Nice.
It's also fun every once in a while just to play an old JRPG like this.
Yeah, because now you have a cool time capsule of like, oh, that's right, I do have to go into the menu now and initiate this conversation.
Right, like talk to people. And if the person moved out of the way by the time that you opened the talk menu, there's like the hero talked to this tile in front of them. And there's no one there.
God, I forgot about that.
I was like, ugh. And like, you can't open doors in the world without a magic key. And like, the game gives you a magic key at the beginning because the king is like, do you want to go save the princess? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, great answer. Open these 3 chests. One of them has like one has a magic key. One has like 120 gold in it. And one has something else. I don't remember what. But like, you only can open one door with one magic key, and you have to open a door to leave the room. So every walkthrough is like, you already picked up a magic key, and I was like, no, I didn't. I don't. And then I like watched a walkthrough, and I was like, right. So like, all of these locked doors in the world, you're not getting in them until you find some source of magic keys. And I was like, all right, that's pretty good. It's pretty all right. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Times.
Yeah. And now I have to figure out like which ones I've played, because I don't want to. I really loved 8, but I don't want to replay it because I've already played it. Oh no, I've actually played 9 too, because that was the one on the DS, the one where you get the maps from other people and do the like mini dungeons.
Sounds familiar. For some reason, my memories of the recent games is super hazy, but I can remember like the first 4 crystal clear.
Right. Well, and what's easy too is I know I can't play 10 because that never came out over here. That's the online one.
The online, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited for most of these, because I know like even people that feel strongly about 7 don't think that 7 is a bad game. They're just like, 7 is unbelievably, unimaginably long, but it's not a bad game overall. It's just it moves at a glacial pace.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know.
Damn, that Dragon Quest 3 Collector's Edition, $200.
Yeah, I saw that. It looks neat, but I don't think it's one of Square Enix's strongest collector's editions.
I am still not willing to drop $200 on a collector's edition for anything right now.
Not anymore. Like, I am excited it's coming out on PS5 though, because like I was gonna play it on Switch. That would have been fine, but
Switch, PS5, Xbox, PC.
Yeah, I will definitely pick up a Dragon Quest game on PS5. I'll probably pick up a physical collection of that. I really love that that art that Team Asano made for the cover. It's so good. And the way it connects to the 1 and 2 art.
That's what I'm looking forward to, is having the binding where it lines up too. Like, Matt, we need to bring that back. I have my East games down there, which sucks. I have to have them out of order, because if you put them in release order, they don't line up. You have to put them in chronological order
we
for them to line up
from
properly.
The Dragon Ball Z VHS tapes. You got to have that cool spine art, and they got to fit, man.
I gotta bring that back.
Yeah, for real. All right. Are you guys ready for the next part?
Yeah, I'm excited for Moon to be able to play Dragon Quest 3 on his Xbox.
There you go.
Sure.
Only a couple months left.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's talk releases for the week of July 1st, 2024. Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail comes out. PS4, PS5, Series consoles, and PC. We're not really the Final Fantasy MMO peeps here, so I cannot tell you what the difference is. I've seen MSQ out there. I know about a cactar. I know there's a new area here, and I try to stay away from this game as much as possible because I don't want to lose hundreds of hours to a game that I am guaranteed to love. So,
I loved it when I first bought my PS4 and played this for months on end. This was the only game I had, and it was great. And that's why I had to stop playing it.
I watched Vinny Caravella, I think it was there on Nextlander's 1-year anniversary stream, I think. He played like 10 or 20 hours of the beginning of this game, and I was like, oh no, this looks 100% my jam. He was just playing the like release Final Fantasy XIV stuff, not even the incredible stuff that comes after that. And I was like, I can't do this to myself.
Yeah, it's like my wife asking me, it's like, you've been in this town for 10 hours. What have you been doing? It's like, I've been leveling up my blaxmithing, duh.
I'm fishing.
And when I'm done,
Hello.
Yeah, and when I'm done with that, exactly, there's fishing. I got cooking I need to be doing.
That's right.
I got potion crafting to keep up with.
Oh, man, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, Godspeed any of you Final Fantasy XIV fans. I will not be joining you. Regrettably, / my family thanks me. Next game here, The First Descendant comes out. PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series consoles, and PC. This is Nexon's free-to-play third-person shooter, like online kind of thing. A lot of people that are playing it are kind of likening it to Destiny 2 and Warframe, that kind of same structure. Thankfully, not as blisteringly fast as Warframe is. That game. What are you Warframe players doing?
Quick, dude.
That game's so fast. It's like watching Speed Racer. It's too fast, man.
Somebody brought up Warframe to me at work, and I was like, man, I would love to get back into Warframe, but I can't. No. Again, with 14, there is a reason I stopped playing.
That's right. I uninstalled it for myself.
Because it's a bad game.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious on this because I think whenever I see that there's kind of a Nexon free-to-play thing, I'm always sort of like, all right, that's not typically going to be for me. But all the preview stuff that I was looking at today from various outlets over the last couple of weeks seems fairly glowing about most of this game. So it looks kind of neat. So I would recommend maybe looking at some gameplay footage of this. I think it looks potentially
I'll be looking at achievements before I look at anything else to do with this.
That's true. Because how many of it's like run 50,000 missions total? And you're like, nope. I'm already out.
I said you could hope that's the easiest one out of all of them.
That's right. So, and the other thing too is like, my question always is, and we'll talk about it here with our next game we'll be talking about. It's like, how free to play is it? You know, are you gonna run a mission and be like, all right, man, 12 hours until you get enough energy to run the next mission? And it's like, no, I'm not saying that this is how this game is, but you know, when you're out of the preview and review stuff where you kind of have it in your hands, how much of it is this game like? So
I hope it's closer to Warframe, because Warframe, it was all just purely cosmetic. You want the gold shiny frame, the gold shiny gun? All right, put in money for it.
Mostly cosmetic.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot better over the last couple of years.
Yeah,
they've been
wasn't
really
anything that was structurally
it.
tied behind anything, and the prime weapons were mostly the prime weapons and frames were mostly just okay. You might have an extra slot, or you might get like a rare. I don't even know what they call them anymore, but back when I used to play them, the little mod cards that you would unlock. So, but it was never anything where it's like, oh, if you're not playing this, like you're just making the game way too hard for yourself.
Yeah, you're like doing double damage because you spent $15. Yeah. So, We'll see. I'm keeping kind of a half an eye on this just to see how it's. I don't think I can add another, assumingly live service online game to my repertoire at the moment. I have Dragon Quest 1 to play. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm assuming a battle pass is going to come to this at some point, and hopefully they do it the right way and not the old way.
Yeah. So that's the first Descendant. We'll see how that launch goes. Next game here.
They were only fined $9 million for falsifying information on free-to-play microtransactions this year. Yeah. So
surely it'll be fine. Next game here, Zenless Zone Zero comes out PS5, PC, iOS, and Android. This is MiHoYo's new game. This is the... Why do I never remember their two popular games right now are hugely and massively popular, and I can never remember their names.
Genshin Impact and Star Rail.
Thank you. Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. This the new game from that studio. This looks super cool. It's kind of like this cyberpunk kind of hack and slash beat 'em up sort of thing. So I've been interested in this ever since they showed it. I'll probably try this out because this is going to be free to play as well. I usually don't click with MiHoYo's brand of free to play, banner pulling gotcha sort of thing. So I probably won't stick with this in the long run. But
I got fed a Bleach game on my dashboard, and it's like, it's free. Wait, what? This is a free Bleach? It turns out it's a mobile game, and I was like, that's probably gotcha. I'm staying away from that.
Yeah,
it is a gotcha, because I saw someone post that, and I went to install that. It's like, a free Bleach game. Yeah, I'll grab that. And then my son's like, yeah, that's the gotcha game, and I'm like,
every time. Yeah, so I will at least try this out because it's free, and maybe this is the one where their gacha system isn't... I don't want to say predatory, because I don't think they are, but it's kind of like as close as you can get without being super scummy.
It's definitely Vegas style, where the house always wins.
That's right. Yeah, MiHoYo
but I mean,
wins.
outside of the gacha, though, at least with Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, the games themselves are pretty solid.
They are, yeah.
It's just... Usually they really want you to buy new characters, and there's usually one that you really want that you will never get. So.
Right. And every banner has the newest, hottest, most cracked OP, whatever YouTubers are going to say, this is the best one ever. I can't believe you're not getting this small child with a wizard's hat. They're wild. So, I don't know. Maybe
I think they've also toned that back, too, because that was a big issue with a lot of the Genshin, was the meta... with some of the higher end 5-star characters. It really was. It's like, if you don't have these 5-star characters, it's very difficult for you to get to higher end stuff in the game. Yeah. And I think I've been hearing that they've brought that back a little bit more with this. Okay. So
yeah, I'll keep an eye on this, because I feel like every time a new MiHoYo game comes out after Genshin Impact, I feel like most people are out there pretty honestly about like, hey, this one is still a MiHoYo game. And if that's the answer, then I'm good. I'll look at it from a distance and be like, yeah, man, that character does look super cool. It's a banner 400. This game's still... You guys are pumping them out, man. So that's Zenless...
on March 7th in this one.
That's right. You're on season 35? What in the...
Yeah.
That's Zenless Zone Zero. And last game we have here, The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak comes out PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. Nimp, take it away.
This is the older cast. This is past... All right. We're going to have to break this down. This is after everything that happened with Cold Steel.
Oh, okay.
This is in a completely different area of the world now. We're finally leaving Abonia and heading off to another area. The cast is older. I think the main character is like 24.
What's up, old man?
I know.
How are your knees holding up?
But a lot more with mechs and other... It's more science fiction-y. Because this entire time leading up to this point, they have been progressing technology-wise. Mm-hmm. And so now we're getting to like our kind of modern version of this game.
Right. And graphically, this isn't like the the PSP games they've been putting out recently, where it's like the chibi version. It's like a full 3D ones.
Yeah, and I'm super excited for this to show up on my doorstep. So
I'll ask the question that everybody asks when a new Trails game comes out. Is this the one you start with?
So you can start with this one.
Okay.
So usually what happens is
can and should are very different words.
That's
you
fair.
can and should because it's newer. But like I said, whenever they break off, so like there's Clouds or Sky, Cold Steel, and now Daybreak.
Mm-hmm.
So in Cold Steel, you did not have to play Sky.
Gotcha.
You could play Cold Steel by itself. Saga. Yeah, you can play all 4 of those games. And once you get towards 4, they start bringing in characters from Sky.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing you're missing is kind of just the nostalgia of, oh, hey, that's how they look now, 5 years later kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no, they're not drawing from huge story points in the older games.
Gotcha.
And it's the same thing with this one, where it's like, especially with this game, from what I'm hearing, you're only going to be missing like a couple name drops here and there, and there's like a couple characters in the background that if you haven't played any of the previous games, you're not going to catch on that, oh, hey, that's who that is.
Right, it's all the winks and nods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for it, if you want to start with this game, you can and should. It's newer. Nice. It's got the system, from my understanding, it's different from Cold Steel. It's a lot faster pace as well.
Oh, okay.
So if your worry was that, oh yeah, these kind of seem slower, because they are, this one may be the one for you to start with as well. It's still a command-based game, but it's just the battle system sounds like it's a lot faster than they have been in the past. So,
nice.
So yeah, you do not have to play. I'm trying to think. What are we at now? The other 8 or 9 games up to this point.
This is The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak is the 11th installment in the main Trails series.
Yeah, so you don't have to play the other 10 games like I have. Yeah. But if you want to, though, you can. And it sounds like, too, I was actually talking with people on Discord. It sounds like they're going to be remastering the original Sky games.
I had heard that, yeah.
Yeah, because right now the only place you can play them is on PC. There's no real
PSP
console
for one of them.
Yeah, the first one, the first Sky game.
And after that, they're just like PSP. Come on.
Yeah, but they're all stupid expensive. Like you can't get them digitally on console, and if you want physical, they're stupid expensive.
Yeah.
Cold Steel you can play digitally, and this one you can play digitally, but it's just this older Sky games you can't. So hopefully they do that, and add some quality of life stuff, because those games were hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am super excited. That's why I need to hurry up and beat Spider-Man, because that's happening.
That's right. It's up next on the list. Yeah. So join into a future episode to hear more about Trails Through Daybreak. That's all of our releases for this week. That's our episode for this week. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. If you'd like to visit us, you can do so at tvgp.tv. Everywhere to find and follow us is on the right-hand side of the page. Please don't forget to join the Discord server. Join the best community on the internet, talking about a bunch of cool stuff and hanging out and chilling and talking about gross fast food like we usually do.
That is true.
Yeah. And don't forget to join us over at patreon.com/E1M1.
The ones and numbers.
Get all the cool stuff we talked about at the beginning of the show. Reminder, that's $5 a month. Not per week, not per episode or any of that. It is fun for a $5. If you can't support us over there financially, totally understand. Please support us by going to our YouTube channel, liking, commenting, and subscribing. That stuff really does help. We're trying to grow the YouTube channel a little bit here. So if you want to see our faces along with the trailers we're talking about, if you want to see gameplay of the games we're talking about, all that stuff is over there. We do have a video version of everything that goes on the public feed. So anything that includes Pup and Game Club and We Work Like It and all that stuff. They have video versions over there. You can get all of that. And don't forget, like we were talking about recently, please rate, excuse me, I'm getting so choked up. Please rate and review us on whatever podcatcher you're listening to this show on, if it's possible. That stuff really does help, and it really does help us get into more people's podcatchers and get into the recommendation engines for all that stuff, and that helps more people find the show. So we greatly appreciate it. Any way that you can support us, even if it's just downloading and listening to the show, we do greatly appreciate it every week. That's our episode. Thank you very much. We'll see you all next week. Bye.
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 All right. Gotta take a sip here. Me. All right, Nimp. Where are your titles?
All right, I've got 3.
Okay.
I have Gamer Score Glancer.
Yep. I'm
number 1. Yay.
Also have that one.
And I love you, Obsidian.
Okay, Moon, what do you have?
We all know he's talking about the mineral.
That's right. Love those rocks.
Fight with a tree, sub-discorded, ask me how I know, Major Moon, best, open brackets, mockingly, close brackets, the world is a hellscape, feel the burn out, and can and should.
All right, I have a Gamer Score Glancer. I'm number 1. Yay. There were 5. I love you, Obsidian, and best, mockingly.
I really like best, mockingly.
I like that one,
I'm fine with
too.
that. Yeah.
I'll circle that.
I'm assuming brackets don't mess with the RSS feed.
No, I've only broken the RSS feed once because I put the little accent on Pele's E, and the RSS feed was like, nope, can't do that. I was like, I'm giving the man respect. Come
That's
on.
not English. It must be a virus.
That's right. I have an episode called Pele Station. I'm gonna put the respect on the man's name.
Also, I'm ready.
Oh man.
What was the title again?
Best, mockingly.
Open brackets, mockingly, close brackets.
Okay. I have something, but I'm trying to figure out how I want to incorporate it. And it's not because it's bad or anything. It's not a way that I normally speak. So I'm trying to get it right in my mind right now.
Oh, mine is completely out of left field and is not going to make any sense. So don't worry too much about it.
Perfect. I love it.
Well, it will make sense if you hear it in a particular way.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. Starting in 3, 2, 1. This is That Video Game Podcast, episode 871 for July 1st, 2024. Best, mockingly.
America is the...
Mockingly. That sounds very pleasant. Do you get what my struggle was?
Yeah, yes. How do you speak like a, what is it, Elcor?
Yeah.
Elcor is correct.
Man, that's a great one. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening and watching. We greatly appreciate it. I hope we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.